not in jail. Who exactly is protecting them? At 1:30, the big political showdown in Bihar ahead of the crucial assembly elections over the revision of voters' list. Why is the opposition up in arms? And what is the Election Commission's rationale behind the sudden exercise is what we ask a battery of newsmakers who are lined up later on the show. But first up, over 72 hours after the Mumbai shopkeeper was assaulted for not speaking in Marathi, his ordeal, remember, was filmed and circulated online by the assailants. And over 24 hours after the FIR was filed, the police finally recorded the statements of the 7 accused. The 7 men, members of the Raj Thakre's Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, which is the M&S, they have refused to apologize for the assault, but they have deposed at the Deputy Commissioner of Police's office. The question is, why were they not taken into custody? Why no arrest so far? Is the question that I ask on the show tonight. And another one would be, does this hooliganism have sanction of the state?
They repeat, they remain brazen, and the cops and government keep dragging their feet. The Gunda Raj continues unchecked. 2 days have passed since the M&S goons beat a lone shopkeeper inside his shop. The video went viral. It triggered outrage, but the system is unmoved. Despite an FIR being filed against all 7 accused, not a single arrest has been made yet. Adding insult to the injury, the accused are arrogant and unapologetic.
उसका जो बात करने का तरीका है ना वो गलत है।
क्या पूछ रहे हो आपने मराठी के लिए
उसने नहीं
मराठी ना
के लिए मारेगा जो गलत व्यवहार करेगा तो हमारे को ना फर्क नहीं पड़ता है गुनाह दाखिल होने से मराठी के मुद्दे के लिए हम लोग गुनाह लेने के लिए तैयार हैं।
The police and the government are hiding behind the rule book to justify their inaction.
तुरंत एफआईआर हमने रजिस्टर कर ली गई। 7 लोग जो है उनको आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया गया है। 3 लोगों को नोटिस दिया गया है। अभी कानून में ये प्रावधान है कि 2 साल से ज़्यादा सज़ा नहीं, उसमें 7 साल से अगर कम सज़ा रहे तो उसमें अरेस्ट नहीं कर सकते। तो हमने नोटिस सबको सर्व किया गया है और सब पे प्रिवेंटिव एक्शन भी हम ले रहे हैं। जल्द से जल्द हम इसमें इन्वेस्टिगेशन करके चार्जशीट जो है कोर्ट में फाइल करेंगे।
Even before the outrage over that incident could die down, another video of M&S hooliganism has surfaced. This time, M&S workers barged into the home of a man, Kedar Soman, who had posted a comment against M&S chief Raj Thakre on social media. Shockingly, though, it is Kedar Soman who has been detained by the police while no action has been taken against the M&S workers caught on camera. As expected, senior M&S leaders have come out defending the actions of their workers, saying those living in Maharashtra must speak Marathi. Shockingly, even Maharashtra ministers have echoed this sentiment, though they did condemn the violence.
महाराष्ट्र में मराठी तो बोलनी ही पड़ेगी। अगर मराठी नहीं आती है तो आपका ये एटीट्यूड नहीं चलेगा कि हम मराठी बोलेंगे नहीं। हमें किसी और लैंग्वेज का अपमान हमें करना नहीं है, लेकिन मराठी में अगर कोई महाराष्ट्र में कोई मराठी को डिसरिस्पेक्ट करता है तो बिल्कुल वहाँ पे हमारे कायदा हम लागू करेंगे, उसके ऊपर कार्रवाई करेंगे। जिन्होंने भी उनको मारपीट की है बिल्कुल उनको एक ही संदेश देंगे कि कायदा हाथ में मत लीजिए।
शॉपकीपर को मारने की वजह क्या थी ये जाना जाता है। सरकार की कोई ऐसी भूमिका नहीं, किसी ने गुंडागिरी नहीं करना चाहिए। सरकार सक्षम है, आप सरकार पुलिस के पास रिपोर्ट करो, पुलिस के ऊपर कार्रवाई करेगी।
The opposition is now questioning the Maharashtra government's inaction, accusing it of emboldening M&S goons to terrorize citizens.
सरकार ने तुरंत एक्शन लेना चाहिए, कड़ी से कड़ी सजा देना चाहिए। मुंबई ये शहर मेट्रोपोलियन है, दुनिया भर के लोग मुंबई शहर में रहते हैं। संविधान ने अधिकार जो दिया है सबको अपने अपने भाषा और अपने धर्म के प्यार करने का अधिकार दिया है, लेकिन किसी को जबरदस्ती करने का अधिकार नहीं दिया है। और इस तरह से दहशत पैदा करने का काम वो ना करे, ये सरकार को हम सूचना देते हैं।
NDTV will not rest till these M&S goons who've been troubling citizens in the name of Marathi pride for years face the law. But the question remains, why no strict action unless incidents turn violent or go viral? Why are the accused still free despite being clearly identified on video? Who has been shielding them all these years? And why are ordinary citizens being vandalized, humiliated, and threatened all in the name of Marathi. The government owes answers. Now it's time for the Maharashtra government to act and act decisively to send out a message that no one is above the law. With Sujata Dwivedi, an NDTV Bureau Report.
And the Marathi versus non-Marathi row is taking a new form every day in Maharashtra. An altercation over a phone recharge in Thane has snowballed into a Marathi versus non-Marathi row. And this time it is a member of parliament of Uddhav Thackeray's party. And this again is a viral video in which some non-Marathis are seen apologizing to a Marathi man as he slaps them across the face. This comes at a time, of course, when the language row is intensifying in the state, as we have seen that video of Maharashtra Navnirman Sena assaulting, workers assaulting a shopkeeper, no arrest so far. This row in Thane started with a man visiting a shop to get his phone recharged. This happened on July 1st. 43-year-old Kiran Tanaji Sawant asked the shop staff to recharge his cell phone. It should have been done. But the recharge did not happen due to a technical problem. Mr. Sawant, the shopkeepers in fact say, lost his cool and created a ruckus. This led to a scuffle between him and 4 to 5 staff members in the shop. Mr. Sawant then approached the police and filed a complaint. All that was going as per, if there is some kind of hurt or altercation which happens, this is what happens. Police then detained the 4 accused and released them after giving notice. The matter, however, then shifted to the office of former Shiv Sena MP Rajan Vichare. A video that has now gone viral actually shows Mr. Vichare hearing the matter from the shop staff. So he has, he is here the judge, jury and everything. He has perhaps a separate courtroom. He listens to all the altercations which happens. And at one point, one of his aides stopped a staff member from speaking and says, Marathi mein bol, Marathi mein boliye. This video then shows that Kiran Sawant, one by one, these accused assault him and he is apologizing with his folded hand. This is what is happening. Then they touch his feet. He responds by slapping them across the face. So what really is happening in Maharashtra? Is there some kind of competitive hooliganism which these cousins are engaging in? That is Uddhav Thackeray's Sena and M&S, which is of Raj Thackeray. Let me bring in the guests who are joining us. Mrs. Reshmi Tapase is Vice President of M&S. We have Rohit Chandravarkar, Senior Journalist. Samir Bakre is the spokesperson of the BJP. Jayesh Wani is leader of Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena, and Ganesh Sovani is a political analyst. Rohit Chandravarkar, first to you, this clearly seems to be the case of competitive hooliganism. Both the brothers' parties, cousins' parties are trying to get eyeballs because they understand when it is about Marathi pride, they have to hijack that narrative.
Yes, Maria. Let's look at the perspective. Look at Maharashtra. What is Maharashtra? This state does not distinguish or discriminate between languages. Look at Bollywood. Everybody understands that. Look at all the big film stars, Amitabh Bachchan, others, Shah Rukh Khan, others. Where are they from? They're from different parts of the country and they live in Mumbai. They've made their careers in Mumbai. The people of Maharashtra don't have anything against Hindi. They don't have anything against those who speak Hindi. It is the politicians who are introducing this polarization. That's the first point I want to make. The national perspective is that Maharashtra is a state where outsiders are welcome. Migrants have been coming to this state, working here, thriving here, building good careers in various industries, various sectors. And there's been no trouble. Where the trouble starts is when the politicians step in and they want to, create polarization on linguistic lines, especially ahead of elections. So I want to draw the attention of your viewers to the fact that within 3 months or 4 months, there's going to be a big...
Chandravarkar, between the two, who is the custodian of Marathi pride? Between Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray?
Exactly. So in 3 months or 4 months' time, Maharashtra is going for big poll season, election season.
Yeah.
Mumbai Municipal Corporation, Thane, Navi Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, all these municipal corporations are going to polls. And that's where you have Uddhav Thackeray, Raj Thackeray competing with each other and other parties also competing with each other. And that's the reason you see all this playing out. Raj Thackeray's M&S, Manase as we call it in Marathi, getting active on the roads, getting aggressive and expressing themselves
But
on
will
the
it lead
issue
to
of language.
electoral success is the question that I want to ask Ms. Tapse. What will it really do except for people saying that if they get any kind of success in BMC elections, they'll be resorting to more such, friction between Marathis and non-Marathi speaking population?
मैं मराठी में बात करूं?
हिंदी में बात कर लीजिए नेशनल ऑडियंस के लिए।
ओके, ठीक है, हिंदी में बात करती हूँ। सबसे पहले बात, अभी जर्नलिस्ट का मैंने सुना
जी,
उनका कहना है कि इलेक्शन आने के बाद ये पार्टियां एक्टिव होती है। बराबर, मराठी का मुद्दा जब से मनसे स्थापन हुआ है उस दिन से लेके आज तक मराठी भाषा, मराठी संस्कृति, महाराष्ट्र के लिए हम लोग सबसे पहले आगे हैं। हमें चाहिए मराठी भाषा का आदर रखिए। देखिए, इतने साल से यहाँ पे बाहर के राज्य से बहुत सारे लोग हमारे यहाँ पे हैं जो बिजनेस कर रहे हैं, सालों से रह रहे
जी।
अगर आप यहाँ पे रह के मराठी भाषा सालों से रह रहे, जब आप हिंदी बोल रहे हो तो मराठी क्यों नहीं बोलना चाहते?
नहीं,
मराठी बोलने में दिक्कत क्या है?
लेकिन मैडम, आप लाठी लेकर के मराठी जबरदस्ती तो नहीं बोलवा सकती ना
मैडम। कैसे है ना, लाठी ऐसे होता है क्या कि कोई हिंदी में बात कर रहा है और जाके किसी ने थप्पड़ मारा, ऐसे होता है क्या? एक्शन का रिएक्शन होता है ना। अगर वो मिठाई वाले ने कुछ कहा है, उसके पहले का वीडियो आपने चलाया नहीं, कल से जो वीडियो चल रहा है आपके चैनल पे, सिर्फ 2-3 लोग आए, उसको थप्पड़ मारा, खाली यही वीडियो आपके चैनल के माध्यम से दिख रहा है। उसके पहले वो व्यापारी का जो अरेगेंस है, ऐसा नहीं कि वो वहां पे 25 साल से दुकान चल रहा है, जो हमारे कार्यकर्ता है उनको जानता है अच्छे से। जबकि मराठी हिंदी का विषय अभी जो चल रहा है, फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड से हिंदी का जो जीआर रद्द किया,
वो एक वीडियो आया, उसके अलावा बहुत सारे वीडियोस अब आ रहे हैं जहां पर एमएनएस के जो वर्कर्स हैं वो जाकर पूछते हैं आप मराठी में बोलिए, हिंदी में नहीं बोलिए। तो आपको हिंदी से क्या दिक्कत है?
मैडम, ऐसा नहीं है। मराठी से क्या दिक्कत है ये मैं पूछना चाहूंगी। मराठी से क्या दिक्कत है? आज मेरा भाईंदर में मैडम, जो मारवाड़ी समाज ने जो मोर्चा निकाला मेरा रोड में, जो मोर्चा निकाला, उनका जो एजेंडा था वो पूरा उन्होंने मारवाड़ी भाषा में बोला, क्योंकि उनकी वो फर्स्ट लैंग्वेज है। वैसे ही मराठी हमारी पहली भाषा है
जी।
तो
अगर मराठी आपकी पहली भाषा है तो लोग बोलेंगे जब उनको ख्वाहिश होगी बोलने की, आप जबरदस्ती नहीं कर सकती। और एक चीज है, एक बात सुनिए रेशमा जी, कि यहाँ पर साफ तौर पे दिख रहा है कि यहाँ पे हुलिगनिज्म हो रहा है। So that's my question to Sameer. Why no arrest so far? Is this some kind of state-sponsored hooliganism? I mean, you are allowing it to happen. These hooligans are called at the office of a deputy commissioner. Statements are recorded, and then they are let go. I mean, they are allowed to go. I mean, how's that? Does that really work? You're not interested in running the state.
Hey, let me make it very clear that an FIR was registered against those 7 people.
And then?
The FIR was registered and their statements are recorded and preventive action is being taken. And let me say that we, Bharatiya Janata Party, have a lot of respect for Marathi. We are all Marathi. We expect everyone to learn and speak Marathi, but resorting to violence because someone is not speaking Marathi is totally unacceptable in a state like Maharashtra or under constitution of the country.
That statement is just a statement, Sameer. Why no arrest? It has been over 72 hours now.
Maria ji, police commissioner has already explained that the sections under which those people are booked, so no arrest can be made. So what I am saying that law will take its own course. FIR is registered against those people. Again, FIR is registered and the charge sheet will be filed as soon as possible.
No, sir, there is a problem in which it is being approached by the administration and the government of Maharashtra. The sections were decided by whom? The FIR was lodged. These are
we
videos
cannot
which show
decide the
that they are
section.
being that they are slapping a shopkeeper. You are
See,
giving them a long rope. Similar
we are not
incidents
absolutely
can
giving
happen in
them
other
long
parts
rope.
of the state as well. Let's not forget
We-
that there is a genuine fear that you are generating and you are sanctioning it.
See, that's a very serious charge you are making. Let me refute that. There is no such sanction. FIR has been registered. Their statements are recorded, and a charge sheet will be filed. They will face the law, and
Okay,
anywhere
so let's
such
wait till the
incident
law-
will happen.
till they face
the
the law.
government will come down heavily on
Okay,
them.
Jayeshwani.
We have Marathi pride,
Jayeshwani,
but this is not
it looks like that
acceptable to us.
M&S workers and your party leaders are having some kind of competition here in trying to hijack this narrative of Marathi versus non-Marathi. That is all right. I mean, it is all right to set an agenda based on linguistic pride. But why resort to slapping, beating, thrashing?
When the people are not understanding properly, when the Marathi people are urging or insisting the people, and they are trying to force us to speak in Hindi, then only it is the reaction. It is never happen in Maharashtra that people is going on the road and they are speaking in Marathi, and the Marathi speaking in Hindi, and Marathi people are going to beat them. It is not possible. It has been never be happen in Maharashtra. But the thing is that you are making some false statement before the national media. Madam, Arnesh Kumar judgment is very clear of the Supreme Court. When the punishment is less than 7 years, then no person shall be arrested in that matter, in that sections, without the prior notice under section 41 of IPC and 35(2) of the BNS. So if the police is not going to arrest, it means the arrest is not necessary as per the law. So you don't insist to arrest the people.
No, I'm not
which is
insisting.
illegal,
I'm
which is
saying
illegal.
that
You are
there
insisting.
are multiple
You are
videos which are
insisting.
coming
You are
now from the
insisting.
state.
You are-
No, sir.
you are insisting
In
to-
an
you
MP's
are-
office,
what
a
happens?
shopkeeper
Maria,
is
Maria, ma'am.
beaten up
Let me
and
complete.
slapped. Do you think it's
Let me
allowed?
complete. Let me complete.
Is this some kind of banana republic that we are looking at?
Let me complete, Maria. Maria, ma'am, ask this question to Supreme Court, who passed a judgment in the judgment of Arnesh Kumar. They have given the direction that no arrest shall be possible without the notice in the section.
So
which
there is no
punishable under the
nothing
7
called.
years. No section.
So
no
these
law is
images will
allowed.
continue to
No law
come,
is
Ganesh
allowed.
Suvani,
See,
because the nature of charges which are being registered in that FIR
Maria ma'am.
are not strong enough for arrest.
Maria
So
ma'am,
one should be prepared. No, one moment, ma'am. Ma'am, रुकिए जरा, रुकिए. मैं आ रही हूँ आपके पास. Ganesh Suvani.
Yes,
So what is becoming clear is that what M&S
yes,
did in the
my
past,
brother
it will continue to do, and the state will become a spectator here because the nature of the FIR is such that no arrest should be made.
Yes, my brother advocate Jayeshwani just now explained to you that because of the Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar 2014 judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, police machinery has literally become handicapped in not arresting any such hooliganism, the people who are involved in this small type of rioting or hooliganism.
Okay.
Specifically says that if the punishment that is warranted is less than 7 years, then they can't arrest it, which they used to do formally before 2014, the judgment was passed. However, the time has come now that Supreme Court will have to review that particular judgment, as the incident says, in which though the punishment is of less than 7 years, but that is affecting the public safety of any individual who is not involved, is totally innocent, and is become beaten up for no justifiable reason, then perhaps this Arnesh Kumar judgment may not come into the play. Because the kind of violence that we have seen in the last 2 days, my head lies in a shame. I am from same Thane city where yesterday night that incident happened, and similarly Mira Bhainder, it is in the same Thane Taluka it has happened. So now what has happened on last Sunday, when the Maharashtra government withdrew the GR pertaining to the, I will not use the word imposition, but the Hindi language being used as a third language, this withdrawal has definitely surcharged and it has energized both the M&S and Shiv Sena workers without no doubt, and there every reason to be jubilate on that score. There is no dispute on that. But the question arises, you are sending a totally incorrect signal to the not just people in Mumbai or Maharashtra, but to the entire India at large. Imagine that Maharashtra is the biggest foreign investment attractor as on the date. If such kind of law and order is going to last in Maharashtra, or more particularly in Mumbai, what kind of signal will be emanating from city of Mumbai to the foreign investors? If my money or dollars or pounds or anything which I am putting in Maharashtra or Mumbai in particular, then if it is going to be insecure because of this violence and buns and all that, then such kind of foreign investors, they will shy away from India. They will shy away from Maharashtra and Mumbai in particular. And today this incident has happened in parts of Mumbai, suburbs of Mumbai, because Thane is an extension of Mumbai. Tomorrow it might happen in Kolhapur, Pune, Aurangabad, now it is known as Sambhajinagar, or Nagpur also. So if such kind of replication of incidents are going to take place, that will be sending totally incorrect signal to the world at large.
So what
Therefore,
kind
it's
of
high
world-class
time.
FDI destination you're trying to build here, Mr. Sameer?
Yeah, because if the law and order is not fine, it is not safe,
Absolutely.
then what is the purpose of investing the money?
And linguistic pride, all right.
Ma'am.
I understand that. Some nationalism is something that drives people in the state. I'm coming to you.
Myra ma'am,
मैं आ रही हूँ
Myra
मैम.
ma'am, Myra ma'am, मुझे एक बात आप बताओ कि जो मराठी लोगों के साथ जो हो रहा है वो आपके चैनल ने कितनी बार दिखाया हुआ है? मुझे बताओ. कल्याण डोंबिवली में एक फैमिली को परप्रांतीय लोगों ने मारा हुआ है, इसकी न्यूज कितनी बार चला है आपने? अभी कल का बात है, ठाणे में एक मराठी आदमी को 3 दुकान वालों ने, 3 व्यापारियों ने मिलकर मारा हुआ है, उसकी न्यूज आपने चलाई क्या?
नहीं, क्यों मारा है?
आपको जो लगता है ना वही आप चला रहे हो.
नहीं,
आपको जो चाहिए ना वही आप चला रहे हो.
नहीं रेशमा
आप
जी,
ये नहीं, आप मराठी मनुष्य के ऊपर अगर कोई हाथ उठाता है वो दिखाते हैं क्या?
You should say all this to your fellow politicians, not to a journalist.
मैडम, आप अगर आप एंकर, मैं बोल रही हूँ, आप
एंकर क्वेश्चंस.
देखिए, आप अगर एंकर हो ना,
whimsical.
मारिया मैम,
all right.
मारिया मैम, आप एंकर हो, आप किसी को कैसे जस्टिफाई कर सकते हो कि आप कायर हो, आप गुंडा हो?
समीर,
कैसे कर सकते हो?
समीर, the question is, it's your government.
It's
your government, and you have to answer the questions which have been raised by Ganesh here. That what about the foreign direct investment? Are you not worried about the image of Mumbai, the financial capital, Maharashtra?
Maria ji, let me say very clearly to you, under Honorable Chief Minister Devendra Ji Fadnavis, who also is a Home Minister of our state, Maharashtra has received 40% of the FDI of India. So we are well ahead of all other states in terms of getting the FDI, in terms of progress. And one small incident or one sporadic incident doesn't just give the image of the state. Entire state is non-violent, and these are the incidences which are happening, and the law will take its own course.
Okay, so
and
law
they will
will
be
take
punished.
its own course.
Let me say this one more sentence.
I'm hearing it for the third time.
At the time of Lok Sabha election.
Jayeshwani, quickly, and then I'll give the last word to Rohit Chandrawat.
One line, Maria ji, one line.
Maira ma'am. अच्छा, समीर जी, बोला तुम्ही.
Maria ji, let me say that at the time of Lok Sabha election, there was a fake narrative of constitution being changed. At the time of assembly election, there was a fake narrative of caste lines. Now at the time of Mahapalika election, they are taking a regional stand. So this is a pure politics, and for Marathi, BJP has done highest.
So you are saying that there is some kind of conspiracy
giving education
in which
in
M&S and UPT Sena are together. What is this conspiracy? Have the brothers come together?
मराठी में बात करना गुनाह है क्या? मराठी का बात.
Let's have Jayeshwani on it.
2 minutes.
Let's have Jayeshwani on it. Yes.
मैम,
Yes,
जिस बात का गर्व होना चाहिए उस बात पर शर्म की जा रही है सोनी जी की वजह से, इसका मुझे बड़ा दर्द हो रहा है. महाराष्ट्र में अगर मराठी के लिए आग्रह किया जाता है तो उसका अभिमान होना चाहिए एज अ मराठी पीपल, बिकॉज रेस्ट ऑफ द स्टेट्स ऑफ इंडिया हैव अ जियोग्राफी only. These states have history also. The thing is that in 1960s our 106 people has died to make this reorganization of the state on the basis of language only. 106 लोग मरे थे हमारे, तब जाके मराठी राज्य बना था. और मराठी राज्य बनने के बाद अगर मराठी का विरोध करोगे, चलो आपके हिंदी का कोई विरोध नहीं है, लेकिन आप अगर ये कहोगे कि हिंदी ही बोला जाएगा, हम मछली नहीं बेचने देंगे, हम मटन नहीं बेचने देंगे, आप कौन होते हो हमारी कल्चर पर अटैक करने वाले? क्या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, क्या is this possible that the constitution allow the only one linguistic people to encroach the other languages?
No, but how is
our
this
Marathi
really,
language?
no.
You are
Really
advocating
it's
Hindi language.
convenient.
You are advocating.
Convenience.
Madam, let me finish in very proper way. आप तो उस चीज का एडवोकेट कर रहे हो कि हिंदी क्यों नहीं बोलने देते. मैं ये कहता हूं चैलेंज के साथ, चलो आप अपना टीसी दिखा दीजिए, अपना मार्क मेमो दिखा दीजिए, बताइए यूपी बिहार इन 2 राज्यों में कहीं हिंदी कोई थर्ड लैंग्वेज हिंदी सिखाई गई है क्या, या कोई भी थर्ड लैंग्वेज और भाषा सिखाई गई? तमिल सिखाई गई, तेलुगु सिखाई गई
है, मैंने उर्दू सिखाई
तेलुगु सिखाई गई.
मैं बिहार से हूं, मैंने उर्दू सीखा है थर्ड लैंग्वेज की तरह. चलिए, संस्कृत भी सिखाया गया है हमारे स्कूल में, मैंने संस्कृत भी सीखा है. Rohit Chandravarkar, please come on this. Rohit Chandravarkar, I'm asking you, is there some kind of concern between the two cousins that this narrative of Marathi Manus, which was of course the idea which was created by late Bala Saheb Thackeray, the common man image, that he used to be, he was the one who championed this narrative. Between the two brothers, I think electorally there is no comparison. M&S is down in the dumps. Uddhav UBT Sena is holding on to its ground. But it is all playing out in Thane district, where it is also a fight between the old Sena and the new Sena and the real Shiv Sena. Do you think that is what is playing out, and why in this entire battle between the two cousins, the real Shiv Sena, the symbol holder, why are they silent? Why is Eknath Shinde not responding or saying anything? Why is he not jumping into this narrative?
Bala Saheb Thackeray formed Shiv Sena in 1966 solely on the issue of Marathi Manus, that is the issue of Maharashtrians getting sidelined in Mumbai, etc. But as time passed, in the late 80s, along with Pramod Mahajan, a lot of thinking happened with the BJP, and late 80s towards 90s, early 90s, Bala Saheb Thackeray decided that he will walk on the path of Hindutva. Same thing happened with Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray, mainly because the demographics of Mumbai, Thane, the MMR as we call it, Mumbai metropolitan area, the demographic changed completely, and the migrants started dominating, and Marathi Manus was in a minority. Same is happening in many cities in Maharashtra. Now, look at the picture that we had during the assembly polls 6 months ago. Look at the picture we had during the Lok Sabha polls maybe a year ago. All the politicians of Shiv Sena and BJP and others were talking of Hindutva, and Hindutva was the agenda that they were running. And then suddenly now you come down to the municipal polls, which are likely to happen in October or November. There lies the answer to the question that you posed, that in Thane, there's going to be a tough competition between the original Shiv Sena or whichever the original is, and M&S and others. And that's where the Marathi vote counts. That's why you see these politicians who were mainly walking on the path of Hindutva, or still walk on the path of Hindutva, are now speaking about the pride of Marathi or other languages. You will see BJP backing the North Indian population, Hindi language and others. You will see Shiv Sena talking about Marathi Manus. You will see Eknath Shinde partly talking about Hindutva and partly talking about Marathi Manus. And all this finally boils down to the civic poll politics. More than 17, 18 municipal corporations in Maharashtra are going to polls. Biggest is Mumbai, which has a budget of 55,000 crore rupees annual budget. Thane too, and Pune and other cities too. Along with that, there's going to be polls in district councils, Jilla Parishads, as we call
Jilla
it.
Parishad elections, right.
More than 25 of them. So all this, the pride of Marathi Manus, pride about Hindutva, all these things are finally boiling down to that poll politics. That's how I see it.
Rohit, in all this, where is Eknath Shinde?
30 seconds only. 30 seconds only.
No, one moment.
So,
30 seconds.
Very good question. So, Eknath Shinde feels that he look at the political situation. Eknath Shinde's home bastion is his home turf. It's Thane district.
Yes.
Thane city. Now, Thane city, Thane district, which includes Kalyan, Ulhasnagar, all these areas, MMR region, that is now, majority of the demographics is non-Marathi, non-Maharashtrian population. You have Sindhis, you have Gujaratis, you have North Indian migrants, you have maybe people from South also. So for Eknath Shinde, it makes sense to walk on the path of Hindutva more prominently.
More
Of course, he
Hindutva, less
also
on
has
Marathi
some
pride. But it's
Marathi
interesting
voters,
how
but he will mainly focus on Hindutva, and that
yes,
makes sense for
absolutely.
him.
That's what it appears, certainly also from what is the indication that is coming in from the BJP. Mrs. Reshma, Rohit, Samir, Jayeshwani and Ganesh, really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. A quick break and then I'll be shifting focus to what has been some kind of tension which is playing out between India Bloc parties and the Election Commission of India. It's a storm which is brewing in my home state of Bihar. I'll get you details in just a bit.
Fenesta Windows, beautiful and durable designs. इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस. आपके घर में फिनेस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए.
Find Finer Fenesta.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
If it matters to you,
A storm is brewing in the heart of India's political battleground, that is Bihar. Just months ahead of the crucial assembly elections, the Election Commission has rolled out a massive revision of the state's voter list. The first such exercise since 2003. So 22 years ago, it was carried out. And at the heart of this exercise is a new verification process. Any voter not found in the 2003 list will now be required to furnish proof of birth and Indian citizenship. Booth-level officers have been tasked with going door to door, collecting one of 11 approved documents from voters, all within a tight 1 month deadline. And this 11 list of documents doesn't include the Aadhaar cards, and that's the big question as well. The Election Commission says the move is was needed by rapid urbanization because of large-scale migration and demographic changes, a clean-up to ensure that only legitimate eligible voters cast their ballot. And according to the Election Commission, only those who are ordinary residents of a constituency are entitled to vote, and crucially, not all 4.96 crore voters will need to submit documents, only those flagged in the process have to. But the opposition is up in arms. The India Bloc is calling this move more like a clean-up. They are calling it Votebandi. Rahul Gandhi and Tejasvi Yadav have launched a blistering attack, alleging that this is nothing short of an attempt to disenfranchise over 2 crore voters. They're calling it the worst attack on the basic structure of the constitution. They say this is not voter verification but voter suppression, targeted, timed and tailored to tilt the playing battlefield. Joining me first on the show is the former Chief Election Commissioner of India, O.P. Rawat. Mr. Rawat, this is a question that perhaps only a former CEC or the present CEC can answer. That's why I'm asking you this question. Of the 11 documents, why not include Aadhaar card as well as a valid proof of an ID? I mean, Aadhaar card today in the country is considered to be sacrosanct. Why not allow that?
Actually, Aadhaar card is no proof of citizenship. It is the proof of only ordinary residence. That's all. Whereas the electoral roll includes the names of only citizens who qualify to be a voter, means who are above 18 years of age on the appointed day. So Aadhaar doesn't have any relevance here.
Okay, so you are saying that Aadhaar doesn't have relevance here, sir. But the question is that there is a genuine fear among the people right now because they feel that they have to provide documents which may not even exist with them anymore. But the question is also, sir, that the same population voted in 2024, just a year ago in the Lok Sabha elections. There were elections in 2019 and also in elections in 2020 in Assembly in Bihar. Similar exercise happened in 2014 elections and 2015 elections in Bihar. Because this kind of exercise was last undertaken in 2003. So are you saying that all these elections which happened were rigged?
No, not at all. Because before every election commission resorted to revision. Only the difference being that those revisions were summary revisions, not intensive revision. This time it is intensive revision. Intensive revision means that you have to cover all the households. Now, out of this universe, 2003 voter list will cover around 65% of the voters who do not have to provide anything. So remaining 35% only will have to provide something. But another thing, 11 listed are not exhaustive. It's only an indicative list. There are many other options to provide if you don't have those 11 documents. Like you can have your parents' name in 2003 voter list. If that is there, 2003 voter list is readily available on the website of EC as well as with the BLO. Printed copy is there with BLO. You can just take a copy, show that your parents were there and you did not register for certain reasons. That's all. And then you will be there. So there are many other options available.
You know, the Election Commission brought in that option particularly for the migrant population to vote from a distance. Right? If they were in another state, they could cast their vote there and they will not be disenfranchised. Given the high population of the migrants in Bihar, most of them would have been outside. They have to first now travel to Bihar to undergo this process of scrutiny and verification and then return during the election season. Who is going to pay for their logistics, sir?
Maria, 100% migrant workers go only after Kharif season, which ends in the month of November. So right now monsoon is there, Kharif crop is there, so they are growing Kharif crop in their fields and they are not migrating now. So this is the nature's bounty to Election Commission that they could resort to intensive revision in this interregnum.
My last question to you, Mr. Rawat, because you know there are questions which are being raised about this entire exercise. Was there consensus and were the political parties taken on board before this exercise was rolled out? And why now, just 3 months before the elections, shouldn't it have happened much before?
Both these questions have a lot of imponderables because I am not privy whether all party meeting was held and this issue was put before them and their consensus was obtained. I am not privy to that information. I won't be able to comment on that. Second thing is why it was not held some time back, say a year back or a year and a half back. Now, Election Commission has full discretion under the law that before every election they have to conduct a revision, which can be either summary revision or intensive revision. Now, they thought that this season is not for migration, number one. Number two, they thought 3 months period will be good enough. And for that, they have already excluded nearly 65% voters. 2003 electoral roll. They are excluded almost because they don't have to do anything. Just pre-filled form will come through BLO. They just have to sign and hand it over to him, and it is completed. Remaining people who did not find any name in 2003, only those will have to find some other thing.
All right, Mr. Rawat, appreciate your time. Let me bring in Professor Manoj Jha now. He's a member of Parliament of the RJD. Professor Jha, you had a meeting with the Election Commission and there were members of other India Bloc parties as well. Of course, this had to do with the entire exercise which is happening. From where is the India Bloc, sir, coming to that number of 2 crore voters in Bihar who could be disenfranchised? I mean, this number, how are you arriving at that number?
Let me, Maria, first share with you the background of yesterday's meeting and what transpired in the meeting. How would I describe the meeting? 3 things combined together. We, all the India Bloc members, had gone to share our collective concern about possible potential disenfranchisement in Bihar. Now, having said that, I came out and also said, addressing the press, that I wish this meeting was cordial. I had no reason to call it a very cordial meeting, because there is a difference between hearing you out and listening to you. What we found, all of us found, that the commission heard us out, did not listen to us. And anybody knows the difference between hearing and listening would concur with what I am saying. The figure around approximately 2 crores. I mean, if you look at the timeline of Election Commission announcement on 24th June and announcement of the fact that the exercise would start from 25th of June, and then subsequent 4 or 5 different press releases clarifying, justifying, all because of the fact that it was not done after due diligence and consultation with the stakeholders. Now, roughly 3 crore people, the Election Commission is saying that they have to prove. First, the first important natural law point is that the onus has been shifted from state to individual. And I gave us a kind of analogy to the Chief Election Commissioner that in my university I tell some student that your work is full of plagiarism. And he says, or she says, no, sir, it is not. So I ask him or her to prove, rather than before making that charge, I should have had the evidence in my hand. So that's the basic premise we approached. We didn't get to know. Now, at one point, Chief Election Commissioner himself said that 20%, roughly 20% people from Bihar, they live in different other cities as migrant population. And that proved our suspicion, our fear true, that the brunt shall be borne by people who live in Surat, who live in, Baroda or Hoshiarpur or Mumbai, in different parts of Maharashtra. And despite the fact that live in these cities, they come to Bihar on festivals, and particularly during the festival of democracy, that is voting, whether it is assembly election or the parliamentary election. Now, this entire population roughly would be subjected to a rigorous exercise of finding one document out of 11. They won't accept Aadhaar, they won't accept ration card, they won't accept EPIC card, they won't accept Manrega job card, and so on and so forth. So if you look at the numbers, and also in view of the fact that all different parameters, Bihar ranks quite low. How many of us, except people coming from a particular particular class background, it's very difficult to collect, contain all the documents at a safe place, particularly when the floods are almost there in different districts of Bihar. In view of it, if you look at, and there have been very good writings by different people, including some of those important points which Tejaswiji raised, I submitted that in the form of a letter addressed to the Election Commission. The numbers would not be less than 2 crore. the people who shall be put in a doubtful category, and everything. Why only from Bihar? This exercise could have been taken immediately after the Lok Sabha election. You did not. 22 years ago was the last exercise. Why this was not done? I asked this question. Why this was not done in 22 years? What kind of position paper or approach paper you developed? If you develop the position paper and approach paper, please bring it in the public domain. And that approach paper or position paper should clarify at what level the consultation took place. And finally, my closing argument in this section, Maria, when this gentleman took over as Chief Election Commissioner, he had announced with applaud from all the quarters that he'll not do anything without consulting political parties. There was no consultation at all. And when yesterday, the approach was not of consultation. What I said through my opening remarks with you, that he failed to distinguish between hearing and listening. That is the root of the problem, and that makes us worry, not only as political party, but as somebody about democracy, which is actually to protect the most sacrosanct of the right, and that is right to vote.
All right. Professor Jha, you've made a couple of points, and I would like you to elaborate on that. So what justification did the Election Commission give when the India Bloc said that why is Aadhaar card not an acceptable, or a ration card not an acceptable form of an ID? Bihar, of course, has a very huge migrant population. Who is going to make arrangement for their travel, so that they can, or the logistical challenges that they'll face because they have to go for first scrutiny and then to cast their votes?
Maria, let me tell you, if they become doubtful, they lose voting rights. Where is the possibility of discussing the mode of conveyance or mode of transport? First, you have to respect that these migrations are fundamentally different, which are from Bihar and compared to migration from other states. I gave them my example that I came here to study with bare minimum. And for many years, I continued to be a voter in Bihar and refused to be a voter in Delhi. During elections, I'll go back to Bihar. Similar is the case, but if you put them in a doubtful category, if you just give them 25 days of time, then 2 draft, verification, and all kinds of certification, you are actually not making it a mechanism of inclusion, but a mechanism of exclusion. Number one. Number two, we must also understand that so far, Election Commission has failed to convince us or convince themselves why Aadhaar won't be accepted and why different other government's own scheme-based certificate or testimonial shall not be accepted. The day I get it from the Election Commission, the same day, I'll reach out to you and share.
Okay, but sir, why, when you say the Election Commission did not take political parties on board, why didn't they do that? Was there an answer in that meeting?
Shock and surprise, combination of both. And I'll tell you, there is a precedence. His predecessor, Rajiv ji, where he was toying with the idea of remote voting. There was a huge meeting. All political parties, including BJP, all opposition, we had our argument. I personally remember I had provided them that what are the pitfalls of it. And I'm thankful that it was solved. It was possible after the consultation. In this case, there was no consultation at all. And I repeat what I said, apart from 20% of the migrant population, which I think is on the radar of exclusion or the verge of getting excluded, a large number of them. What worries me, that people who generally struggle with these kind of certificates are the subaltern classes and communities, Dalits, minorities, Muslims in particular, backward castes, they'll have to struggle. And if you want a kind of elite coup against the subaltern, I see that kind of design. It's a proposed, planned elite coup against the subaltern castes and communities.
Professor Manoj Jha, thank you for joining us here on NDTV. Let me bring in Sanjay Jaiswal now, a former state president of the BJP from the state of Bihar, who is now a member of parliament of the BJP from Bihar. Mr. Sanjay Jaiswal, the concerns being raised by the India Bloc before the Election Commission would be something which would be very valid in the sense that this fear is real, because Bihar has a huge migrant population and they have to undergo the scrutiny, which may not be really fair for them. And the India Bloc is putting that number of almost like 2 crore Biharis who could be disenfranchised because of this entire exercise which is being undertaken by the Election Commission.
See, there are already 5 crores people, which doesn't need to verify at all. So the question of 2 crore people doesn't arise, first thing. Second thing, even in those roughly 3 crores, 2.96 crores people who need to be verified, out of them, if your father or mother has been a citizen already registered in the voter list, then that's enough, because we all are giving a pre-filled form. If you write down your father's name and mother's name, and they are already voters out there, so that thing will be filled. So naturally, this will take care of most of the things. The only problem will be those people who with complete family have shifted outside. For them, there's a through net, you can file online. Though my opposition friends are objecting, but this has happened in 2003, where elections were in 2004. So do they want to say that at the time of in 2003, when even the net was not properly available, voters from the Bihar? That's not possible. The only thing is that because in 2003 it happened in Lalu Yadav's era, so everything is fine. Now it's happening in Nitish Kumar. That's the only reason why they are objecting it. Otherwise, this thing has happened in Jawaharlal Nehru's region. This thing has happened in Lal Bahadur Shastri's region. This thing has happened in Indira Gandhi's region. At the last time it happened in 2003 when the Lalu Yadav was here in the state. When nothing happened till now, why you suspect that something will happen? Does the Lalu Yadav did some scam in 2003 electoral voter list? Because he is experienced, he has done border scam, he has done so many scams. So do Mr. Lalu Yadav and Rabri Devi want to say that while in 2003 they have done a lot of scam through elections? That's why they fear that this time happen. They should clarify it.
But Mr. Jaiswal, it's not just the RJD or the Congress which is expressing their concern. Even India Bloc parties, your alliance partners in Bihar are also equally concerned. But the fact that that Aadhaar card, ration card is not being seen as a valid form of identification, what kind of identity, verification is then going on here?
So my answer will be same. There was no Aadhaar card in 2003. There was no Aadhaar card in 1983. There was no Aadhaar card in 1965. There was no Aadhaar card in 1952. Why this time you are apprehending? That's my question is. See, it's very simple that out of roughly 7.96 crores voters, roughly 5 crores voter doesn't need to be identified because they are already in the electoral roll. The second thing is that if your father and mother has been in 2003 voters list, you can easily write it down that I am son of him and my father's and mother's name is already in voter list. So giving your any proof is sufficient. You don't need to do something extra. This is more an apprehension rather than reality. I sincerely think that because of fear of losing elections, they are trying to have a lame excuse as a citizen, like you are in Delhi. You also belong to Bihar. You can easily ask your father and mother or your parents or guardians that You have to register my name. They will fill the form. That's not a problem at all. If your whole family has been shifted to Delhi and still you want to vote in Bihar, then naturally you have to fill the form online. That's all.
Okay, there are concerns that this is some kind of a targeted exercise, particularly against the minorities and Dalits. Then how will you allay those fears? They have had voter rights. Now the BJP is looking at disenfranchising them.
If you are a genuine Bihari, there's nothing to fear about it. If you belong to somewhere else, if you are an immigrant, illegal immigrant, naturally you have to fear. If you want your name at 3 or 4 places, even if you are a minority or a majority, a general caste or a reserve caste, but you want that your name should be in city also, in village also, and third way. See, even if you talk about my own home, I'm telling you that my ward has got an electoral list by certain people who have put at the time of municipal corporations election many names from the rural area. They are having names in the rural area also, they are having names in the urban area also. We don't have any check. And those people who are talking about Aadhaar, the government has mandated itself that Aadhaar should be a part of voter ID. If you remember correctly, Supreme Court struck it down that you cannot ask Aadhaar for voter ID. This was clearly said by Supreme Court. Now the people who were very happy with that, okay, Supreme Court has struck down that Aadhaar card is not mandatory. Now they are talking about the Aadhaar card. This government was very clear. If you remember, this government has put the voter list tagged with Aadhaar card 1.5 years back. But that time Supreme Court struck it down. So once Supreme Court had said that we will not consider Aadhaar as a mandatory thing, now suddenly you want to go Election Commission against Supreme Court. I'm unable to understand it.
But Sanjay Jaiswal, there are a number of questions which are being raised by India Bloc, the opposition parties, and all these are very, very valid questions. As a Bihari myself, I understand that there are concerns of several who are staying outside Bihar, but they travel to the state during the election season to cast their votes. So thank you so much for joining us, Sanjay Jaiswal, the Member of Parliament of the BJP. We are putting out all the discussions on ndtv.com. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.
I want to come now to the AMCA. I want to get into that because it is from the AMCA that this entire situation is what it is and why we're talking about it. The fact that the AMCA isn't here.
No.
The AMCA is a long way off.
It's virtual reality.
And 2 days, Vishnu, 2 days after Operation Sindoor is when the government cleared what is called the execution model for the AMCA, which basically meant that the private sector and the public sector could compete to build and develop the AMCA. But forget about who's going to build and develop it. Where are we with the AMCA and how far away is it?
The first prototype rollout was planned for late next year. I'd be very surprised if that takes place. The first flight was supposed to take place in the late 2028. I'll be very surprised if that takes place. There is funding for at least 5 prototypes. I think there is more money being given for more prototypes. Certification scheduled for 2032, right? And induction starts from 2034. That's the best case situation as of now.
Yeah.
Now, this means that Pakistan, once they start acquiring the J-35 at some stage this year, assuming that they get even 10 every year, it'll be actually at a faster rate, they would be operating stealth aircraft for 10 years, a full decade before India starts acquiring our first one. And with this being our first platform, the AMCA has to really deliver.
Yeah.
It has to be current. And remember, the Chinese have gone beyond.
Good
evening and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the programme this evening, India and the US, it now appears, are very, very close to a deal between the two countries. Remember, Donald Trump absolutely insistent that when it comes to trade, it has to be on terms acceptable to the United States. India's negotiators have been working extra time protecting what our interests are. But ultimately, it is in the interests of both countries to pursue a trade deal that really takes forward the economic relationship between the two countries. The targets that Washington and New Delhi have selected are huge, but a trade deal, if it does work out, would go a long way towards fulfilling that ambition. It does appear at this stage that the deal is all but signed. Once it does go through, it could be a game changer. On this program, some of the finest minds looking out at the prospects of a trade deal between Washington and New Delhi. Well, in just a couple of days, there is a real hope, a real expectation that India and the United States can thrash out a trade deal. It's been in the works now for several months, with the US president making it clear that there has to be a real deal, one which works. He says in favor of the United States, but obviously India would want it to work equally well for New Delhi. Joining us, somebody who's really worked at the diplomatic relationship between India and the United States, and that certainly includes the trade relationship as well, Ambassador Atul Keshav. Thanks very much, Ambassador, for being with us. Namaste to you. So right up off the top, let's talk about some of the tough issues. Agriculture, for example. Why is agriculture such a major sticking point in the negotiations? I ask because America seeks greater access for agricultural products like corn, soya bean, wheat, etc., dairy particularly, modified crops. But India has problems because, for example, in the case of genetically modified crops, there are legal concerns here. India also has concerns over 80 million small farmers, smallholder farmers, cultural sensitivities around dairy. Could this be a potential deal breaker towards a really big deal?
So, Vishnu, great to see you. Thank you for having me on. For the whole time that I've observed trade deals and trade negotiations, back to my time as a college student and when I was the U.S. envoy for APEC, agriculture issues are always the most sensitive issues in any trade negotiation. And this is because farmers occupy an enormously important cultural space in all of our countries. And look at the Japanese rice farmers, for example. And farming and agriculture hit very close to the home and the hearth. And these are also extremely very important political constituencies. So, of course, the trade negotiation with regard to any agricultural issues will be the most sensitive. However, there is virtue in having these conversations. And I would just add that it's been years since we've last been in a serious trade negotiation. We came close about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm hoping that this time we'll bring it over the line. Certainly, USIBC and all of our member companies are cheering, as is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We are hoping for a meaningful trade deal between the world's two greatest democracies. So agriculture will, of course, be sensitive. It always is in any country that we deal with. But it should get done. There is virtue in coming to a reasonable outcome that is good for both countries.
So you are genuinely optimistic that this is not, a major stumbling block going forward?
Well, look, I mean, this is up to the negotiators, right? And it's up to their bosses who make the final decisions. As I understand it, this is just the first in what could be a series of trade agreements between the United States and India. And Vishnu, just panning out, think about all of the intelligence, law enforcement, counterterrorism, outer space, scientific agreements that have come since the nuclear deal between the United States and India. We just agreed a new 10-year defense framework between the U.S. and India during Minister Jaishankar's visit here the other day. And think about the absolute paucity of economic agreements between the U.S. and India, almost zero, with the sole and notable exception of the 2005 Open Skies Treaty. So I am very hopeful, as someone who has watched and tried to see this relationship grow for a long time, I am very hopeful that the negotiators will be able to come to some form of agreement that allows us to create a pathway and a foundation for even more such talks and even more such agreements. So as you structure negotiations, sometimes you can put the difficult things off a little bit and agree on what's available right now and possible right now.
So in simple terms, to break through your very carefully calibrated language, we're looking at a mini deal and not a mega deal, right?
Well, let's see what comes out. As I said, this is a very sensitive negotiation. It involves both sides stretching their comfort zones. It is, I think, extremely important strategically for the United States and India to have a trade agreement, no matter what it may look like. I think that our shared adversaries are watching and hoping that we fail. We cannot fail. We must succeed. We are compelled by the geostrategic turbulence of the moment to ensure that we send a strong signal to the entire world that the US and India are still working to build their relationship. Indeed, if you look at Prime Minister Modi and President Trump's aspiration that we hit $500 billion in bilateral trade, we are far short of the mark.
Yeah.
So this deal, I feel, has to happen, and I pray that it will happen, and I think that it'll be the first of many to come.
So India faces a potential 26% reciprocal tariff from the US. That's been paused, of course, till the 9th. But India's offer to reduce tariffs to zero on 60% of American imports, and then seek exemptions for our exports, for example, textiles, pharma, that is India's key bargaining chip. But the US insistence is on reciprocity. So it really depends on how you're looking at it, right? India sees this as an opportunity for America. America says, no, look, there has to be reciprocity. So do you not see this as being something that complicates the progress that you're talking about?
Well, look, every single element of this negotiation has to come to a point where both sides feel that they can sell it to their people and that they're comfortable with it, right? These trade negotiators are deeply experienced people. They are great patriots who love their countries, and they will work to strike the best possible deal for the advancement of their own country's national economic interests. And that's got to go in both directions until a deal is struck. And every time I've ever been in a negotiation with anyone, Russians, Chinese, Indians, Europeans, Arabs, there always comes a point where everybody gets very frustrated and sort of takes a deep breath and then realizes that success is the only option. And then you push through with reasonable compromise and you strike a deal. A good deal, well negotiated, is one where nobody's jubilant and nobody's crestfallen and everybody walks away feeling, okay, maybe this is the beginning of something. And if we can come to that point between the two negotiators, then I think when it goes to the leaders for decision, maybe the people of both sides will realize that this is a good pathway for much more to come. For instance, if we can agree a deal on tariffs, as you mentioned, or on other elements related to non-tariff barriers and market access, maybe it will then create confidence for the two of us to start working really seriously on immunizing our supply chains from risk, on things like critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, defense articles, semiconductors. There's a lot of work yet to do between the US and India. So I wish that this deal come through because it will create a very important psychological impact among investors, in both countries, among citizens, among the two governments, and among, frankly, all of the people who watch us all around the world, including some who mean us harm.
So China, right?
Your words.
All right. We'll talk about China because it is an interesting factor in terms of the broader relationship. But America prioritizes digital trade, pushing for fewer restrictions on data flows and competition regulations, which is what Indian policies limit to a large extent. Our focus in India has been on data sovereignty, protecting our digital market. But do you believe that this is again an area where a lot more needs to be done to break through differences to achieve significant economic gains?
I actually think we've come a long way together in the just the last few years. India came out with a very interesting formula a few years ago that it would allow data on Indians to be stored in trusted geographies.
Yeah.
We all know what that means. And I think that India and the US have also learned the lesson from our European friends who over-regulated their digital economy and frankly chased away innovation in Europe. The thing about the digital economy is you don't have to pick up a factory and move it. You just move the talent and you move the data and you move the innovation. And so the United States and India have remained hothouses for innovation. You have all of these Bengaluru unicorns, and of course you have the Silicon Valley in the United States, precisely because I think our regulators are very careful not to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. And the US and India are leaders in the digital economy. I think we are very proud of that, and we want to keep it going. So on these issues of data, on security, sovereignty, we're literally building the world that has never existed before. It's kind of like coming up with all the traffic regulations after automobiles became a thing. You know, it took years and years to figure out what made sense. And we're in that process now, but both governments are very clear about not wanting to squelch innovation.
Do you believe that trade needs to be linked to geopolitical concerns which India and America jointly face in different contexts? I'm talking, yes, about China. Or do you believe that linking trade to geopolitics complicates negotiations and puts all sorts of pressures, perhaps even domestic political pressures, certainly in the context of a country like India?
So I studied economics in college, and if you study the principles of David Ricardo and Adam Smith and all of the great free traders, free trade actually makes the most sense. It is the most efficient. It is the most logical. It strives to attain the greatest comparative advantage. It maximizes happiness of producers and citizens and countries. And so free trade as a theology, it makes a lot of sense, and it works. The problem is reality. And this is where ideologies like communism fall down. They run into human nature. And so when you are dealing with free riders in the international system who are creating advantages for themselves to create pinches and restraints and concerns and limits for other people, that's when you start having to get into trade policy. And nations have to think about the strategic layer. And on the 4 or 5 supply chain issues I mentioned earlier, we have to get really serious about these things. So I do believe in free trade. I do believe in zero tariffs. I do believe in maximum comparative advantage. But we also have to live with the world as it is and recognize that some of our adversaries really mean to put us in a subordinate economic position.
And so a final question, and I do realize it's speculative, just a couple of days down, do you believe that we'll see an interim deal which focuses on tariff cuts for, let's say, industrial goods, energy, and select agricultural products, not all, and that's something that can be seen to be, a win for both sides, but that ultimately we're going to have to wait for a long period of time before we see anything further in, let's say, dairy and agriculture?
Well, who's to say? I mean, I think the U.S. and India actually recognize the strategic imperatives that are out there, and they recognize that they have to work hard to push against those. This trade agreement is very important. It is taking up from what was attempted in Trump 1. I'm very happy that we are negotiating. It gives me great joy. For many, many decades of my career, there was no real meaningful trade negotiation between the U.S. and India. Indeed, it was mostly trade recriminations. So I am quite optimistic and hopeful. The U.S. Chamber is, the U.S.-India Business Council, our 200-member companies are wishing both governments great success, not only in whatever this agreement is going to be, but in many, many economic agreements that we still need to ink based on catching up for the lost time over the past few decades.
All right, Ambassador Atul Keshav, great speaking to you. Let's hope something comes off this deal. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishnu. Happy 4th of July.
Yep, thank you, and happy 4th of July too. Well, there is hope and optimism, but also a sense of uncertainty on whether India and America will manage to get a mega trade deal signed, or are we likely to see a mini deal now, followed by perhaps many other small deals before we get to a mega status. There is no doubt about the fact that India and America depend on each other in so many ways. Our growing strategic relationship certainly encompasses the economic aspect of the ties. Joining us now, a very special guest, Mark Linscott, Senior Advisor with the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Mr. Linscott, thanks very much for being with us. Before we get into specifics, the goal is, of course, and that's been declared, to get to a whopping $500 billion by 2030. Now, it's quite clear that at this rate, we aren't going to get there, which is why the question is, if we have a broader agreement on trade and tariffs, a trade agreement, as it were, would we be in a better position to achieve or come close to achieving this big ambition of ours?
Absolutely, and first of all, it's a great pleasure to be with you, Vishnu, and NDTV. Well, first of all, 500 billion is just a number. I mean, 500 billion in bilateral trade has been a goal for many years, going back over several administrations. What I think is more important is the two sides to reach some trade agreements, to integrate their economies more, to open their markets to each other more. Eventually, opening markets like this through a series of trade agreements will get the two countries to the goal of $500 billion. That's inevitable. But they need to establish the terms of that, and I am very hopeful, I'm optimistic that may happen in the next few days.
But what about some of the issues of concern here in New Delhi? For example, greater access in the agricultural sector, concerns over dairy. India needs to protect 80 million smallholder farmers. There are huge sensitivities around dairy. It's just the nature of agriculture and small holdings in the subcontinent and in India which makes farmers and the farming community so sensitive. So the worry, therefore, is that if there are American products which come in, then Indian farmers in the dairy sector tend to lose out, and it is their survival at one level which is at stake. And India is clear that that's a problem. How do we work around that?
Yeah, well, first of all, agriculture is sensitive in all countries. India is not unique. It's always a difficult area to negotiate in trade agreements, and I think this U.S.-India negotiation is no different from that. This is an interim agreement that they are negotiating, and I think they are very close to concluding, if they have not already concluded. You referred earlier to a mini deal or a mega trade agreement. This is something in between. I think it will be more than many. I think it will be quite substantial in terms of cutting tariffs. It may focus on industrial, but it will include some outcomes on agriculture. I don't think it will include dairy. I don't think it will include wheat. I know that there's been a lot of press attention to those two subsectors on agriculture in recent days. Largely, I think those are straw men. I think that the negotiations have set those aside. They will come back on the table at a later stage, but I don't think that's a real issue now. I think there's an accommodation of sensitivities on both sides in an interim agreement.
To what extent do geopolitical factors such as, let's say, countering China's influence shape the trade deal's prospects?
I think they shape them quite a bit. Well, there certainly is a dynamic in which this is the trade agreement that got away during the first Trump administration. As Atul Keshup referred, there was a real effort during the first Trump administration. I was the first negotiator in those efforts on the U.S. side. It was the agreement that got away. So that's a factor. But certainly the geopolitical situation is substantial in terms of impetus for a trade agreement between the United States and India. India is special. It's a market that matters more than almost any other market. India is an ally that has a special place in U.S. strategic policies. So I think that there is a real desire on the part of the U.S. administration to get this done. And, it's a different kind of agreement that's being negotiated compared to nearly every other trading partner, whether it's Korea or Japan or the European Union. This is intended to be a true win-win negotiation and an agreement that will endure, and one that will be built on in a broader mega deal, a bilateral trade agreement.
So I'm just trying to understand why this wouldn't be something very attractive for America. India's offer to reduce tariffs to zero on 60% of American imports and then seek exemptions for, let's say, textiles and pharmaceuticals. India would potentially see that as being a huge bargaining chip, right? 60% of items, zero tariffs for America, but please do give us a few exemptions on, let's say, textiles and pharmaceuticals. But America continuing to insist on reciprocity. How would you look at what India seeks and what America seeks?
Well, again, I think the two sides are there. I think in recent days they've crossed the T's, they've dotted the I's. I'm confident an agreement is imminent. So I think the necessary compromises have been reached. I think what India put on the table impressed the U.S. negotiators. There's been a recognition that this is not the end of the game, that this is only the first bite at the apple. The negotiations will continue. So all of that has definitely mattered. And I think that we'll see much bigger negotiations to come down the road.
Given the evolution of the India-US strategic relationship and the fact that on so many issues we are completely agreed, whether it's the defense relationship, the transfer of high-tech, space, the expanding American presence in the Indian Ocean region, which matches India's strategic requirements. Do you believe that this is something that just has to come along in order for that strategic relationship to get to the next stage?
Or
do you see them as being separate?
Traditionally, they have been separate. Traditionally, they've been on separate tracks. And in many respects, going back several administrations, trade was on the track that was not viewed as important as the strategic side. I do think that they are merging. It's become clear in U.S. trade policy, and I think trade policies of many other countries, including India, that trade is very strategic, that it involves national security interests. So we do see the two tracks coming together, and I think that will be apparent in the interim agreement that is likely to be announced in the next, hopefully, days, and in the negotiations that will follow this interim agreement for a larger bilateral trade agreement.
Mark Linscott, Senior Advisor with the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Great speaking to you. Let's hope that things work out in the interests of more than 1 billion people on both sides of the world. Thank you very much indeed.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Vishnu. It's been a pleasure.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग, उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार हूँ और तत्पर।
तेजस्वी जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं, हमारी पूरी सपोर्ट है हमको। हम किंग मेकर की भूमिका में रहना चाहते हैं।
कि लोग घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते।
प्रधानमंत्री जी को बताना चाहिए कि इनका जो बिहार में जो सरकार है 50% जो नीतीश जी की मंत्रिमंडल में जो लोग बैठे हैं वो परिवारवादी लोग हैं। वो अपने आप को भी परिवारवादी बोले।
जंगल राज लाने वाले मौका देख रहे हैं, अपने पुराने कारनामे करने का मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं।
फिनेस्टा विंडोज, ब्यूटीफुल एंड ड्यूरेबल डिजाइन्स, इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनेस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Fine Finer Finesta.
Vishnu, 9 years till the AMCA comes online, the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, which is India's own stealth fighter project. 9 years is an eternity in fighter technology, especially given what we've been seeing in the last few years, whether it comes to, drone tech, drone warfare, manned, unmanned teaming, which we've spoken about in a previous episode, the sheer scale of the network and how it's becoming very much part of the future battlefield. I'm wondering whether 9 years from now, what we perceive to be a fifth generation aircraft is going to look like vintage stuff.
And what's more, we want to crack a century on debut with our first stealth fighter. What are the chances of that happening? The number of technologies which you need to master. It's not just low observability, but reliability of the engine, integration of the GF414 engine onto that platform, if indeed that's the engine that's finally selected. The radar itself will be new build. We made a lot of progress as far as that is concerned. But weapons integration with the latest generation Astra missiles, presumably, all of that has to work. A stealth platform isn't just low observable, it's also got distributed arrays. In other words, it's got radars and other sensors, electro-optical sensors located across the platform. So that the pilot over there uses the aircraft not just as a fighter, but as a sensor. It is a sensor within a group of sensors which acquire information, pass it on through data links, and use it to exploit airspace, hit targets on the air or on the ground or out at sea. All of those sensors, radars, technology, low observability, the fly-by-wire control system, the new generations of weapons that you've got online, they all have to work all together. Because otherwise, after 10 years, if it doesn't work all together, you're tinkering with it and you're fixing it, and you get into a situation where it's taken 15, 20 years for this to actually be the way you want it, then you're already far behind the curve. Look at how far behind the curve we are with the Tejas. I love the aircraft. The engineering is excellent. The made in India AESA radar is actually quite good. The fly-by-wire quadruple redundant is superb, right? The platform is ancient. The weapons carriage is ancient. The range is insufficient. It was built as a MiG-21 replacement. The Pakistanis have now got the J-10, which is not even a fifth generation aircraft, and are acquiring the J-35. So we've not even started. We've not rolled out the prototype of the Tejas Mark II. So therefore, if you're talking about the AMCA...
Even the Mark 1A hasn't been delivered yet.
That's right. That's right. So if we are talking about the J-35, right, of the Pakistanis, which is coming around now, then, they've got a big lead. And if you're talking about the AMCA, we don't want the AMCA to be 10 years from now what the Tejas is technology-wise with regard to where we stand vis-a-vis the Chinese and the Pakistanis.
A 36-hour non-stop flight by a small pack of B-2s. A lot of other aircraft were also involved, we know that. But let's talk about the B-2 flight itself. They took off from Missouri. 36 hours later, they landed back without once landing. They delivered their bombs 18 hours later over Iran and then came back. How was this possible? Because the Department of Defense says at no point of time on this 36-hour journey was there any reason to believe that they were either detected or reacted to?
Well, they weren't detected, because if they were, then they'd be in some serious trouble. It's one of the most unbelievable missions, one of the most historic long-range strike missions. There were 7 B-2s, which by B-2 standards is a fair number of them. There was deception in the very beginning. There was a sense that some of them were flying west across the Pacific. In fact, they weren't. And even if a few planes were positioned in one area, they were not going to be flying the Pacific route.
That was the big distraction.
On social media said, you see the bombers, they're now flying west, so you know what's coming your way. But no. They flew them east across the Atlantic. There were 125 aircraft in total involved. Refuelers were involved at every stage. There were fighter aircraft which linked up 4th generation and 5th.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग, उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पूरी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार हूँ और तत्पर।
तेजस्वी जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं, हमारी पूरी सपोर्ट है उनको। हम किंग मेकर की भूमिका में रहना चाहते हैं।
कि लोग घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते थे।
प्रधानमंत्री जी को बताना चाहिए कि इनका जो बिहार में जो सरकार है, 50% जो नीतीश जी की मंत्रिमंडल में जो लोग बैठे वो परिवारवादी लोग हैं। वो अपने आप को भी परिवारवादी बोले।
जंगल राज लाने वाले मौका देख रहे हैं, अपने पुराने कारनामे करने का मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं।
Welcome, you're watching NDTV. I'm Aditi Bhardwaj. Let's take a look at the top stories that we are tracking here at this hour. In Odisha, official assault case, big development coming in VIP thugs NDTV campaign impact. BJP's Jagannath Pradhan has been arrested just moments ago. Sonam Raja honeymoon murder case spirals. 3 killers now have been sent to 14-day judicial custody. Sonam Raghuvanshi and Raj, alleged lover of Sonam, will be produced in court tomorrow. NDTV continues to confront M&S and its thugs. 48 hours on, M&S leader remain unapologetic. M&S leaders now pin blame on the shopkeeper. This is, remember, the NDTV campaign. India stands against VIP thugs. India and United States to ink trade deal soon now. As per sources, India seeks complete tariff exemption. Russia and Ukraine war spirals, with the Trump and Putin now holding talks over a phone call. After this, Putin said that Russia is ready for a negotiated solution. In a big NDTV campaign, viewers, India against VIP thugs has made an impact, with now BJP leader Jagannath Pradhan has been arrested by the Odisha cops after the assault video of a bureaucrat went viral days before. My colleague Saurabh Gupta is also joining me for more on this. Saurabh, do take us through the latest developments and what we know about Jagannath Pradhan's arrest and what happened before that.
Well, on the 30th of June, a viral video from Odisha was seen all over social media, in which Ratnakar Sahu, a bureaucrat, was assaulted, kicked, thrown on the ground by certain men who were later identified as members of the BJP and close to Jagannath Pradhan, a BJP leader. Now, the Odisha Bureaucrats Association body met the Chief Minister, demanded his arrest, and this was after his men beat up this bureaucrat. And we've been running this campaign across wherever there's this kind of VIP thuggery, and of course this is something that now has happened. Relentless coverage has led to also some sort of impact, with the man in these pictures, Jagannath Pradhan, being arrested. He surrendered at the DCP office, but his supporters have now blocked the national highway outside the DCP's office, and they are of course there blocking traffic. However, Jagannath Pradhan has now been arrested. He's being taken for a medical examination as we speak, and this is something that is after relentless coverage of this kind of behavior. In fact, Jagannath Pradhan was named specifically by the bureaucrats body when they met the Odisha Chief Minister, Dr. Mohan Charan Majhi, of course, assured the bureaucrats that the law would take its course and action would be taken, and now action has followed. Jagannath Pradhan has been arrested by the police in Odisha. Right. And this, of course, is, like you said, a continuation of also our coverage of all these incidents.
Absolutely, Saurabh. And while we are seeing that the arrest has been made, but what about the Bharatiya Janata Party? Will they make any action? Will they sack this Neta or not?
the BJP has already sacked suspended at least several leaders who were identified by that video and named by the bureaucrat, and of course those who saw the video and identified those leaders. Now, the visuals of the attack on the bureaucrat are also quite scary, because you can see a government servant in a government office being pulled out, brutally being kicked, punched, beaten, thrown on the ground, and all of that because, of course, some politician thinks that we can get away with this kind of action. But obviously, the government has now taken action against these errant politicians, and of course, this kind of action has been taken after pressure on the government. Remember, the Odisha bureaucrats also have been continuing their protest. They've been protesting, and the protest also has affected some government work, because it comes at a time where some districts of Odisha also are seeing floods. But obviously, there has to be accountability, and that accountability is, of course, the law taking its course and arrest of people who attack people, people who assault people, for whatever the reasons may be. No one has the right to take the law into their hands, and politicians who do that now, of course, are facing action. At least in Odisha, Jagannath Pradhan has now been arrested, but his supporters are still blocking the national highway in protest.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for detailing it for us. In a big NDTV campaign, viewers, NDTV has been running this campaign that India stands against VIP thugs, and the bureaucrats had demanded Pradhan's arrest. Jagannath Pradhan, who is a BJP leader, has now been arrested by the cops after this assault video, which is there on your screen, went viral. As per bureaucrats, the officials who had written a letter to the chief minister, they alleged that Pradhan's men assaulted the official on duty and demanded that immediate arrest should be made, as Jagannath Pradhan is the kingpin in the case. And moving on to our campaign, which continues. It has been over 72 hours, but no arrest has been made. A Mumbai shopkeeper was assaulted for not speaking in Marathi. His ordeal filmed and circulated online by the assailants. And over 24 hours after the FIR was filed, the police finally recorded the statements of the 7 accused. The 7 men, members of Raj Thakre's Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, which has refused to apologize for the assault, deposed at the Deputy Commissioner of Police's office but were not taken into custody. Why no arrest so far is what NDTV is asking. Does this hooliganism has sanction of the state? Why I say this? Because Maharashtra Minister has also given cover fire to this gundagardi when asked on this issue. Take a look at our report.
They beat, they brag, they remain brazen, and the cops and government keep dragging their feet. The Gunda Raj continues unchecked. 2 days have passed since the M&S goons beat a lone shopkeeper inside his shop. The video went viral. It triggered outrage, but the system is unmoved. Despite an FIR being filed against all 7 accused, not a single arrest has been made yet. Adding insult to the injury, the accused are arrogant and unapologetic.
उसका जो बात करने का तरीका है ना वो गलत है।
क्या पूछ रहे हो आपने मराठी के लिए
उसने नहीं
मराठी ना
के लिए मारेगा जो गलत व्यवहार करेगा तो हमारे वो ना फर्क नहीं पड़ता है गुनाह दाखिल होने से मराठी के मुद्दे के लिए हम लोग गुनाह लेने के लिए तैयार है।
The police and the government are hiding behind the rule book to justify their inaction.
तुरंत एफआईआर हमने रजिस्टर कर ली गई है। 7 लोग जो है उनको आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया गया है। 3 लोगों को नोटिस दिया गया है। अभी कानून में ये प्रावधान है कि 2 साल से ज़्यादा सज़ा नहीं, उसमें 7 साल से अगर कम सज़ा रहे तो उसमें अरेस्ट नहीं कर सकते। तो हमने नोटिस सबको सर्व किया गया है और सब पे प्रिवेंटिव एक्शन भी हम ले रहे हैं। जल्द से जल्द हम इसमें इन्वेस्टिगेशन करके चार्जशीट जो है कोर्ट में फाइल करेंगे।
Even before the outrage over that incident could die down, another video of M&S hooliganism has surfaced. This time, M&S workers barged into the home of a man, Kedar Soman, who had posted a comment against M&S chief Raj Thakre on social media. Shockingly, though, it is Kedar Soman who has been detained by the police while no action has been taken against the M&S workers caught on camera. As expected, senior M&S leaders have come out defending the actions of their workers, saying those living in Maharashtra must speak Marathi. Shockingly, even Maharashtra ministers have echoed this sentiment, though they did condemn the violence.
महाराष्ट्र में मराठी तो बोलनी ही पड़ेगी। अगर मराठी नहीं आती है तो आपका ये एटीट्यूड नहीं चलेगा कि हम मराठी बोलेंगे नहीं। हमें किसी और लैंग्वेज का अपमान हमें करना नहीं है, लेकिन मराठी में अगर कोई महाराष्ट्र में कोई मराठी को डिसरिस्पेक्ट करता है तो बिल्कुल वहाँ पे हमारे कायदा हम लागू करेंगे, उसके ऊपर कार्रवाई करेंगे। जिन्होंने भी उनको मारपीट की है, बिल्कुल उनको एक ही संदेश देंगे कि कायदा हाथ में मत लीजिए।
शॉपकीपर को मारने की वजह क्या थी, ये जाना जाता है। सरकार की कोई ऐसी भूमिका नहीं, किसी ने गुंडागिरी नहीं करना चाहिए। सरकार सक्षम है, आप सरकार पुलिस के पास रिपोर्ट करो, पुलिस के ऊपर कार्रवाई करेंगे।
The opposition is now questioning the Maharashtra government's inaction, accusing it of emboldening M&S goons to terrorize citizens.
सरकार ने तुरंत एक्शन लेना चाहिए, कड़ी से कड़ी सजा देना चाहिए। मुंबई ये शहर मेट्रोपोलियन है, दुनिया भर के लोग मुंबई शहर में रहते हैं। संविधान ने अधिकार जो दिया है सबको अपने अपने भाषा और अपने धर्म के प्यार करने का अधिकार दिया है, लेकिन किसी को जबरदस्ती करने का अधिकार नहीं दिया है। और इस तरह से दहशत पैदा करने का काम वो ना करे, ये सरकार को हम सूचना देते हैं।
NDTV will not rest till these M&S goons who've been troubling citizens in the name of Marathi pride for years face the law. But the question remains, why no strict action unless incidents turn violent or go viral? Why are the accused still free despite being clearly identified on video? Who has been shielding them all these years? And why are ordinary citizens being vandalized, humiliated and threatened, all in the name of Marathi? The government owes answers. Now it's time for the Maharashtra government to act and act decisively to send out a message that no one is above the law. With Sujata Dwivedi, an NDTV Bureau Report.
And now watch when my colleague Shiv Arur confronted M&S leader. When will M&S, whose thugs assaulted a shopkeeper, take on us? Take a look.
सीधा सवाल, ये जो बहादुरी इन 5 लोगों ने दिखाया इस आदमी को थप्पड़ मारने का, वो बहादुरी कहाँ है? उनको बुलाया गया है पुलिस ने उनको समन किया है क्वेश्चनिंग के लिए, तो कहाँ चला गया ये बहादुरी? क्यों नहीं आए? अगर M&S वालों को डर नहीं है तो सामने आए और क्वेश्चनिंग के लिए पेश हो जाए।
मालूम नहीं है, वही तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ, आपके रिपोर्टर ने आपको गलत इन्फॉर्मेशन दी है। उन्होंने अपना नोटिस ले लिया है, जो समन्स था वो ले लिया पुलिस स्टेशन में जाके। क्यों? जो कार्रवाई करनी
क्यों नहीं आए हैं? कहाँ छुपे हैं?
अरे आ गए,
पॉलिटिकल प्रोटेक्शन मिल रहा है ना अभी।
आ गए सर जी, उनके ऊपर समन्स आ गया, समन्स उन्होंने ले लिया। हाँ। जो भी लीगल कार्रवाई हुई वो हो जी।
तो मतलब M&S उनको प्रोटेक्ट कर रहा है अभी।
डेफिनेटली, जो मराठी के अपमान करेगा हमारे
मार खाएगा,
हमारे महाराष्ट्र उनको बराबर से सबक देंगे,
मार खाएगा।
जो अगर बात से बात माने तो अच्छी बात है। हाँ। तो हमारा हाथ रहता ही है।
तो आप नेशनल टेलीविजन पे ये बोल रहे हैं और सब लोग सुन रहे हैं, आपको 0 तो मिला है चुनाव में, लेकिन वो ठीक है, लेकिन आप बोल रहे हैं फिर से प्रॉमिस कर रहे हैं,
0 जिसके पीछे लगता है आगे लगता है, उसकी वैल्यू हो जाती है।
आप फिर से नेशनल टेलीविजन पे बोल रहे हैं। मंगेश भाई, रिस्पेक्टफुली मैं सवाल कर रहा हूं कि अगर किसी ने मराठी को लेकर बोला कि मैं मराठी नहीं बोलता हूं, मैं नहीं बोलूंगा, जो भी है, आप बोल रहे हैं, आप वादा कर रहे हैं अभी नेशनल टेलीविजन पर, NDTV पर, कि आप हाथ उठाएंगे, ये है ना?
मैं आपको शिव जी एकदम क्लियर कट लैंग्वेज है, मराठी आपको नहीं, हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ, रिस्पेक्टफुली बोल रहा हूँ। हर एक को रिक्वेस्ट रहता है, हर एक को अपने अपने मदर।
ये रिक्वेस्ट नहीं था मंगेश भाई, ये रिक्वेस्ट नहीं था।
शिव जी बीच में नहीं बोले, अगर मैं आपको सुन रहा था तो प्लीज आपको रिक्वेस्ट है,
प्लीज स्पीक।
कैसे है ना कि सर जी, क्या है कि उनको रिक्वेस्ट की गई थी, उन्होंने नहीं माना, गलत तरीके से उन्होंने बात की, तो उसका एक्शन का रिएक्शन था। आप भी समझो शिव जी, क्या हमें भी वही काम धंधा नहीं किसी को मारते रहे, वो भी बुजुर्ग आदमी, बेचारे बुजुर्ग ने बुजुर्ग जैसी बात करनी चाहिए।
नहीं एक्शन
20 साल के बाद अगर एक आदमी को शिव जी 20 साल के बाद एक आदमी को अगर मराठी आती नहीं तो उसके लिए शर्म की बात है। हमारे बहुत सारे दोस्त लोग हैं जो हिंदी भाषी के लिए मराठी अच्छे से बोल लेते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, हर एक को प्राइड रहता है।
किसी के पास हक नहीं है,
तो हमारा भी एक काम,
किसी के पास हक नहीं है हाथ उठाने का अगेंस्ट अ कॉमन सिटीजन, नो मैटर व्हाट द प्रोवोकेशन।
West Bengal Chief Secretary Manoj Pant has now written a letter to his counterpart at the Odisha government complaining about harassment of Bengali-speaking migrant workers there after being branded as Bangladeshis. According to Pant, it had been deeply distressing for the West Bengal government to learn that many of these migrant workers were being targeted solely because they speak Bengali, their mother tongue, after they were unjustly labelled as Bangladeshi infiltrators. For more on this, my colleague Saurabh Gupta joins me.
Well, the West Bengal Chief Secretary Dr. Manoj Pant has written to his Odisha counterpart highlighting what he calls Bengali-speaking migrants being harassed. And he's of course said that these Bengali-speaking people have been unfairly labelled, unjustly labelled as Bangladeshi infiltrators. Now, there has been an exercise in several parts of Odisha to identify illegal infiltrators, especially from Bangladesh, and to take legal action against them. And in that process, this has been going on. But what we know now is that the Bengal Chief Secretary has written to his Odisha counterpart seeking prompt action and asking him to take a humanitarian view on the matter, also saying that the sweeping generalization is hurtful, unjust, and calling someone Bangladeshi infiltrator just because they speak the Bengali language is something that's unacceptable for the dignity of citizens. And that's why he said he expects an urgent attention and prompt resolution on this issue. In that letter, the Bengal Chief Secretary Dr. Manoj Pant has written to his Odisha counterpart.
And now in the chilling honeymoon murder case of Raja Raghuvanshi that has gripped the nation, a local court in Shillong this evening remanded Akash Rajput, Vishal Singh Chauhan and Anand Kurmi, 3 of the 5 prime accused in the sensational murder of Raja Raghuvanshi, to additional 14 days of judicial custody. The 3 men, along with Raja's wife Sonam Raghuvanshi and her alleged partner Raj Kushwaha, have been accused of orchestrating and executing the murder plan. Raja Raghuvanshi was allegedly killed on May 23rd while on his honeymoon in Meghalaya. His decomposed body was found nearly 10 days later on June 2nd, dumped in a deep gorge near the scenic falls. Sending shockwaves across the country, this attracted massive outrage. Now afterwards, a manhunt was also launched in nabbing Sonam Raghuvanshi. My colleague Ratnadeep is joining me for more on this. Ratnadeep, do tell us about when is Sonam and her alleged lover Raj is expected to be produced in court?
Sonam and Raj will be produced in court tomorrow when their 14 days of judicial remand is likely to get over. Today, in fact, the other 3 key accused, Vishal, Anand and Akash, who had attacked Raj Raghuvanshi on May 23rd in East Khasi Hills near Waisaidong Falls and killed him. These people, their 14 days judicial remand was getting over today, and this evening they were produced in a local court. However, not physically, but from the jail itself through video conferencing, and police had not asked for further police remand, and therefore their judicial remand was extended for another 14 days. This also comes at a time when yesterday the other 3 accused who were arrested for tampering evidences, they were also sent to judicial remand. So at this moment, all the people who have been arrested in connection to the honeymoon murder case, including Sonam and Raj, all of them are in judicial remand. But what is important to note is that when Sonam and Raj are produced in court again, whether the police again ask for police remand, because there have been a lot of developments in terms of seizure of the jewelries as well as pistol and many other things from Indore, from the possession of...
Thank you so much, Ratnadeep, for joining us with those updates. And with that, we're slipping into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. More news lined up on the other side.
फिनेस्टा विंडोज, ब्यूटीफुल एंड ड्यूरेबल डिजाइन्स, इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनेस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Finer Finesta.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग, उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पूरी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार हूँ और तत्पर।
तेजस्वी जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं, हमारी पूरी सपोर्ट है उनको। हम किंग मेकर की भूमिका में रहना चाहते हैं।
ये लोग घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते थे। प्रधानमंत्री जी को बताना चाहिए कि इनका जो बिहार में जो सरकार है, 50% जो नीतीश जी की मंत्रिमंडल में जो लोग बैठे वो परिवारवादी लोग हैं। वो अपने आप को भी परिवारवादी बोले।
जंगल राज लाने वाले मौका देख रहे हैं, अपने पुराने कारनामे करने का मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं।
But I'd like to start this off by asking you, Vishnu, what you think about the whole question of India.
In a big win for the people, faced with public fury, the Delhi government has put on hold a contentious order denying fuel to end-of-life cars, the term for petrol vehicles older than 15 years and diesel vehicles older than 10. Environment Minister Manjinder Singh Sirsa did this big announcement. He said due to technological challenges and system is complex, so the new policy will not be taking effect. Listen in to the reactions coming in.
Because of the technological and extremely complex system and lack of integration with neighboring states, there is a public discontent and outcry. In these said circumstances, it is not feasible to implement this system where fuel is being denied to EOL end-of-life vehicles identified through ANPR installed at petrol pumps in Delhi. हम इनको जानकारी दी है कि इसके चलते ANPR को इम्प्लीमेंट करना, इस सिस्टम को इम्प्लीमेंट करना अभी फिजिबल नहीं है। इसलिए जो बाकी स्टेट्स के अंदर जब आप बाकी जिस तरीके से एनसीआर के अंदर जब आप इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे, साथ साथ में तब तक हम भी अपने आप को टेक्नोलॉजिकली इसको जानकारी लेकर इसको अपग्रेड करके इसके टेस्ट करके उसके बाद ही इसको भी हम भी इम्प्लीमेंट करने की स्थिति में होंगे।
दिल्ली पेट्रोल डीलर एसोसिएशन दिल्ली सरकार के इस फैसले का स्वागत करती है जो इन्होंने नो फ्यूल टू एंड ऑफ लाइफ व्हीकल्स की पॉलिसी को पोस्टपोन और विड्रॉ किया है। दिल्ली पेट्रोल डीलर एसोसिएशन शुरू से यही कह रही थी, जिन बातों का जिक्र ऑनरेबल एनवायरनमेंट मिनिस्टर ने अपने लेटर में लिखा है कि इस स्कीम को लागू करने से पहले इस व्यवस्था का कोई ट्रायल रन नहीं हुआ था। बहुत सारे टेक्निकल ग्लिचेस थे जिसकी वजह से ग्राहकों को, पेट्रोल पंप डीलर्स को, सबको बहुत परेशानी हो रही थी इस ऑर्डर को इम्प्लीमेंट करने में। हम दोबारा दिल्ली सरकार का धन्यवाद करते हैं कि उन्होंने ग्राउंड रियलिटीज को समझा और हमको इस समस्या से बचाया।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a historic five-nation tour with Ghana as the first stop, marking the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the West African nation in 3 decades. Take a look at our report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a historic five-nation visit with Ghana as the first stop, marking the first visit by an Indian PM to the West African nation in 3 decades. And the PM was quick to highlight Africa's connection with India.
इतना सुखद संयोग है कि भारत के कई गौरव भरे क्षण में अफ्रीका जुड़ा हुआ है। जब भारत ने चंद्रयान के चांद के साउथ पोल पर लैंड किया तो उस दिन भी मैं अफ्रीका में था, और आज जब एक भारतीय एस्ट्रोनॉट स्पेस स्टेशन में एक्सपेरिमेंट्स कर रहा है, मैं एक बार फिर अफ्रीका में हूं।
While the PM visited the tiny African nation, there was another thread connecting India and Ghana, with the countries sharing an unlikely spiritual link courtesy Swami Ghanananda Saraswati, the first Hindu saint of African descent. Born as Kwesi Sele in 1937 in Ghana, Swami Ghanananda Saraswati helped expand the Hindu monastery of Africa to 6 branches across Ghana and Togo. Though he died way back in 2016, his legacy is apparent in the Ghanaians practicing Hinduism. NDTV spoke to a local practitioner of Hinduism who highlighted that its presence is an ever-expanding state in Ghana.
About the activeness of Hinduism in Africa, I can say it's very great. And tons of people are now following Dharma. And then it's really having a lot of impact on us as well, based on our African culture, traditional religion as well.
According to the Indian High Commission in Ghana, there's a sizable Indian community in the country numbering over 15,000. Some of them have been in the country for over 70 years and have acquired Ghanaian citizenship. ISKCON Temple and the Art of Living Center are also active here. As yet another bridge of diplomacy is built, India, guided by PM Modi, continues weaving its influence into the fabric of international affairs. Bureau Report, NDTV World.
And now, in a big achievement for India, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce selection panel announced the 2025 inductees in the prestigious Walk of Fame. And Bollywood's Deepika Padukone also featured in it. She is known in the West for appearing in the XXX, The Return of Xander Cage. Deepika's inclusion in the prestigious list is being hailed by many back home. Take a look at our report.
There is no stopping this woman. Deepika Padukone is now the first Indian artist to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The famous sidewalk in Hollywood Boulevard, which is decorated by hundreds of terrazzo and brass stars, honoring outstanding achievers in the entertainment industry. Deepika Padukone now joins the ranks of Paula Abdul, Amy Adams, Lisa Kudrow, Muhammad Ali, James Cameron, Lily Tomlin to RuPaul, and cements her contribution to the film industry. Of course, we are thrilled for her, but technically she's not the first Indian actor. Sabu Dastagir, Mysore-born, son of an elephant Mahaut, was the first actor of Indian nationality to be inducted in the Walk of Fame. He starred in movies like Elephant Boy, Arabian Nights, The Thief of Baghdad and many more. As a teenager, he became one of the most recognizable Indian actors in Hollywood, especially popular for his roles in fantasy and adventure films. Although he became an American citizen in 1944 and in 1960 during Hollywood's golden era, Sabu was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Thus, Deepika is being recognized as the first Indian actor to receive this accolade. Nonetheless, it's a big achievement for her. With already brand ambassador for multiple luxury names like Cartier and Louis Vuitton, Deepika Padukone without a doubt is a global star. With Priyanka Chopra also dominating the Hollywood landscape, let's just say Indian actresses are causing a global phenomena.
And joining me is our fashion editor, Mayank Chaudhary. Mayank, how do you feel Bollywood celebrities dominating Hollywood?
Yes, it's a big moment, as Indians and as Indian audience to have Deepika Padukone feature on the Hollywood's famous sidewalk, which is called the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now, what is this Walk of Fame? It's basically a sidewalk in Hollywood Boulevard, Los Angeles, which has these stars with names of contributors who've made significant contribution to the entertainment industry. Now, Deepika Padukone becomes the first Indian to receive this accolade. Now, it's a big moment for us Indians. It's a big moment for the entire Bollywood industry, but it does raise that teeny tiny curiosity, and I'm not trying to start any beef here. The thing is, Priyanka Chopra has been in the industry in Hollywood for a longer time. She has done more projects, TVs, films, and more. If we don't forget, there was this brief stint of Priyanka even singing and coming in music videos as a pop star. So she has spent a significant time in the Hollywood industry, but no mention of her. So it does raise that curiosity, as Indians, as that Indian audience. But at the same time, we are very happy that Deepika has been recognized. Let's not forget, she is also the brand ambassador for various luxury brands around the world, for Louis Vuitton to Cartier, and she's been dominating the scene, whether it's film or fashion, absolutely killing it. She was at the Met Gala, so was Priyanka, but as an audience, Indian audience, we feel extremely happy and proud of our Indian actors dominating the global scene. There is a term that's coming into my mind, which is called phenomena, which basically means female actors creating this phenomena. And we are so happy for our Bollywood actors getting this recognition worldwide.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
I want to come now to the AMCA. I want to get into that because it is from the AMCA that this entire situation is what it is and why we're talking about it. The fact that the AMCA isn't here.
No.
The AMCA is a long way off.
It's virtual reality.
And 2 days, Vishnu, 2 days after Operation Sindoor is when the government cleared what is called the execution model for the AMCA, which basically meant that the private sector and the public sector could compete to build and develop the AMCA. But forget about who's going to build and develop it. Where are we with the AMCA and how far away is it?
The first prototype rollout was planned for late next year. I'd be very surprised if that takes place. The first flight was supposed to take place in the late 2028. I'll be very surprised if that takes place. There is funding for at least 5 prototypes. I think there is more money being given for more prototypes. Certification scheduled for 2032, right? And induction starts from 2034. That's the best case situation as of now.
Yeah.
Now, this means that Pakistan, once they start acquiring the J-35 at some stage this year, assuming that they get even 10 every year, it'll be actually at a faster rate, they would be operating stealth aircraft for 10 years, a full decade before India starts acquiring our first one. And with this being our first platform, the AMCA has to really deliver.
Yeah.
It has to be current. And remember, the Chinese have gone beyond the 5th generation. This is not going to be something we spend billions on to make it a Pakistan-centric platform. It needs to be China-specific as well and Pakistan-specific. And therefore, what the Air Chief said the other day when he was, I think, addressing industry was very important. The AMCA has to be of the current generation when it comes online.
Which is 9 years from now.
It just
You're watching NDTV. I'm Aditi Bhardwaj. Let's tell you all the big stories that happened today in a quick update. In the Odisha official assault case, big NDTV impact. NDTV's campaign, India Against VIP Thugs, has made its way as BJP's Jagannath Pradhan has been arrested in the bureaucrat assault case. In the honeymoon murder case, 3 killers now have been sent to 14-day judicial custody. Sonam Raghuvanshi and her alleged lover, Raj, will be produced in court on Friday. NDTV confronts M&S thugs. 48 hours on M&S leaders remain unapologetic. M&S leaders now pin blame on the shopkeeper. It is viewers' NDTV campaign, India Against VIP Thugs. We demand their arrest. India and United States is to ink an important trade deal very soon. As per sources, India seeks complete tariff exemption. Amid Russia-Ukraine war, Trump and Putin hold talks. Putin says Russia ready for negotiations and Trump calls for quick end of the conflict. Over 72 hours but no arrest. A Mumbai shopkeeper was assaulted for not speaking in Marathi. His ordeal filmed and circulated online by the assailants, and over 24 hours after the FIR was filed, the police finally recorded the statements of the 7 accused. The 7 men, members of the Raj Thakere's Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, which has refused to apologize for the assault, deposed at the Deputy Commissioner of Police's office but were not taken into custody. Why no arrest so far? Does this hooliganism has sanction of the state as well? Why I say this is because Maharashtra minister has given cover fire to this Gundagardi on camera when NDTV confronted them. Take a look at our report.
They beat, they brag, they remain brazen, and the cops and government